So I've never told a story before, but I don't know any of you except Ben, and I can't embarrass myself anymore in front of her. So it's safe to tell. If you guys have been in Asheville for a couple of years, do you guys remember the snowpocalypse from like 2 years ago?
Yes.
A lot of really good stories came out of the snowpocalypse. I heard some really good car crashes and a lot of babies born that October. Nothing like that happened to me. When the snowpocalypse hit, I was living in a really small house with my 2 roommates, freshly engaged, 3 cats, a dog, and Kate's father who'd come in to see her graduate. So when the snow starts coming down, we think it's great, it's going to be fun. Her graduation is the next day, a master's degree, we're all really excited. This is the first time that her father has spent time with her fiance, and it's going to be fantastic. So the snow is coming down, it's coming down, it's coming down. We watch Jeopardy, we all miss the final question. And the snow keeps coming down until suddenly the TV turns off. That's okay, we light candles, we play cards. We run out of candles. We start taking bets on how long the snow will hang off the gutters before it slides down the tin roof in a big crash that scares all the cats. It's that kind of night. So in the morning, there's about a foot of snow on the ground, and I'm still in the small house with my 2 newly engaged roommates where there's no heat now, and their father's in town and 3 cats and a dog. And I do the only sensible thing. I find out that work has been canceled, and I open a bottle of wine for breakfast. That day, I built half of an igloo before I got tired of it. You need more support to build an igloo. It's not a dwelling for one. And ended up going to bed kind of early. The next day, I eat out. School is still canceled, work is canceled, our road is not going to be clear for another week. So I put on the hiking boots with that trash bag over the sock inside the boot, waterproofing method, and I hike. Because I have realized that my best friend only lives across the river and she has a gas stove. So we're hiking, and I call her, I say, I'm on your way to your house, and she says, why? And I say, gas stove, and so she understands. And as I'm walking, I'm remembering all the really good times we've had in our kitchen, because this defines our friendship, is her kitchen. She's lived in this house for years. We're both only children who are the closest thing to sisters we've ever found. So there has really good parts and really bad parts, some of them involving kitchen implements. The day that we made lemon curd together is the closest we ever got to dating, but food and friendship, they just go together for us. I finally get to her house. She's stressing out because the refrigerator is turned off and everything is gonna melt. So we dump the plants out of the pots on the balcony, we pack them with snow, we stick all of her nice little veggies in the plant pots on the balcony. And what's left is the things that we really need to use, such as the liquor and the butter. And we decide, since she has a gas stove, that we will make cookies for the neighborhood. And this sounds like a really good idea. So we make some chocolate chip cookies, and they turn out delicious, and we drink a bottle of wine, and we're like, that was awesome, let's make more cookies. So the butter is all at room temperature. We have to use every bit of it. We're gonna make almond thumbprint cookies. We have her mother's recipe, we have raspberry jam, we have all the time in the world. So we start to make almond thumbprint cookies. Step 1, grind almonds. Awesome, coffee grinder. Electric. But we've had a bottle of wine. We're like, we will use the mortar and pestle. She has one of those big, sexy, heavy ones. This is a really good idea when you're drunk. About 3 hours later, we actually bake these cookies. We've ground almonds until our arms are falling off. We had a bottle of rosé and a bottle of champagne. We thought the cookies were delicious. They're a little crispy on the edges. There's some big chunks of almonds. The neighbors were really nice. We gave that batch to the woman who lives in the attic, who has the screeching sex at 4 in the morning. We did not give those to the really hot guy in the basement that she's in love with. We're like, well, we have more butter, we have more time, we have more wine. Let's make shortbread. And I had heard from a friend that you can make green tea shortbread with matcha powder. And I thought that sounded amazing, except that, have you guys ever bought matcha powder? You get a little can like this for like 30 bucks. Like, this is green tea powder. We have green tea. So again, the mortar and pestle. There's something about snow days and lots of wine in the mortar. And we are grinding green tea leaves into green tea powder. It is in fact green tea powder, it is not matcha powder. We make this shortbread and we keep adding more and more green tea. Why does this taste terrible? Shortbread batter usually tastes delicious, like butter. At this point, we finally drink ourselves into thinking that the batter tastes good, so it's ready to go in the oven. And then we forget they're in there, because the timer is on her microwave, and her microwave is electric. And at the bottom of our 5th bottle of wine, we forgot to notice what time it was. So we scorched the hell out of these green tea cookies, and we can't eat them, and they weren't good to start with. But we have committed to this point. We are going to make something delicious for the hot guy in the basement that you've been in love with for 2 years. We can't not feed the hot guy in the basement on snow day. So we're pondering, and we're like, let's do something with limoncello. We could make crepes, but we drink the limoncello while we're trying to figure out what to do. So that didn't work. And we finally decide that we're going to make bourbon balls, because we still have bourbon, and we can chop nuts. We don't have to use the mortar and pestle, and it'll be great. So we're chopping nuts, we're chopping nuts, we're chopping nuts. She cuts off part of her finger. It's that kind of day. We end up making bourbon balls, and we got a little overzealous with the bourbon. It was the only full bottle in the house, so we had extra to share. The balls don't hold together. It's kind of like crumble that might be on top of a pie, but there's no pie, there's just lots of bourbon. We decide, in our infinite sober wisdom, that he's gonna love the bourbon crumble that's in a bread pan, and we walk it downstairs. We didn't actually really get to meet the guy that day, because while we were getting sloshed on snow day 2, making cookies that didn't taste great, the girl who lives in the attic was unable to see her boyfriend. So we delivered our bourbon crumble to the hot guy in the basement and the screeching girl in the attic. But we still had half a bottle of bourbon left, so we managed to recover the day. And while no one got pregnant that I know on that snowpocalypse, we managed to have a pretty good time in the kitchen.